This is page 72, 71 of Initiation into Hermetics from the PDF file in the description below from step 4. And this is about the rituals of finger movements. And what this is about loading the universe around you with like a pool or reservoir of energy that you can trigger with different hand movements and finger movements. And he talks about it in the beginning here, about loading things up that you can tap into energy. You make your own personal reservoir of, like, let's say you like here he says he's triggering the, different elements by his finger movements. Like this forefinger for the fire. In other words, he would move the forefinger every time he like moves the forefinger back and forth or something for a ritual. It would trigger the fire element, and you sit there and you would bend your index finger, for instance. And every time you do that, you think about triggering the fire element, and you keep repeating that over and over again. And as you do that, using the imagination, you actually are accumulating in the Akasha or in the universe around you a reservoir of like the fire element that you can trigger to come forth by just moving your finger. In other words, you keep doing it over and over again. For like personal things, let's say you wanted to have a desire to have like a protective energy field around you. So you could do something like bend your thumb in. Let's say the thumb of the right hand, you could like bend it in towards the middle of your palm, and every time you do that, you imagine vital energy from the universe coming down and surround you with a protective field, energy field against any intrusions and negativity. And so you just keep, bend your thumb in. And it can be any ritual, it can be anything you want using the fingers. And then at the same time, you imagine this energy coming down and giving you a protective force field. And you keep every time, then you do it again and again and again. Every time you bend your thumb, like for instance, you'll see this energy coming down. And then eventually, after a period of time in the future, if you just like bend your thumb in towards your palm, the energy will be called forth automatically for what you want. It's like you're anchoring to different things you want to create with finger rituals. And it's about, like he says here, at first, the ritual is the imagination has to be used. Because at the beginning, there's nothing. So you can create a ritual for anything you want. Like on the right hand, you could have each finger represent, like the thumb could be Akasha, the index finger could be fire, middle finger could be water, third finger air, fourth finger be earth. And just you could like maybe bend each finger in, and as you do it, imagine like the particular element corresponding to the finger being generated in the universe around you. And you just keep doing it over and over again. Every time you bend it, you imagine it happening. Like if you wanted to make each finger of the right hand represent the Akasha through the 4 elements, you would just like hit maybe your thumb in twice, and that'll call forth the Akasha. So you would hit your thumb in twice towards your palm. Imagine the Akasha coming forth for you. The index finger, you could like bend it in twice. Imagine like the fire element being generated, and basically you just every time you bend the finger in, you're imagining the element coming forth. But basically it's just you're setting up these anchor points and reservoirs to have certain things happen without thinking about it, but just by moving your fingers. He's talking about different things like, different things in history, like different like salute, like the salute for like in the army or something. Every time you put your hand to your forehead and salute, it's actually generated energy that every time you do it, it's going to tap into it. That everyone's doing it. So you can probably read it through here. This section is like a couple of pages. He's talking about it. Going back to this is the last step, magical training 4. And he's just talking about everything should become really deep-seated now. And I think it's positions of the body, gestures, positions of the fingers known as rituals. and you just anchoring a certain thing in the universe to it. That every time you do it, it over a period of time, using your imagination, eventually you'll just have to do the movement of the hands or fingers or whatever you have, however you anchor it, and it's going to call forth that power. So this is really up to the individual person what they want to do. There's a lot of general stuff he's talking about here. And he's basically saying that eventually, if you get to this point, you keep doing it. That's simply by having the finger movements. You know, it says here, he must reach such a degree of perfection that any desire he's transplanted into the radiant power is realized instantly. So in other words, you keep doing it over and over again with your finger gestures and for whatever you want to have called forth. In other words, it could be anything you want. Calling forth vital energy, calling forth the elements, and linking them to different finger movements of either the left or right hand. And so it's probably good. You can just read this over here. But basically, it's just assigning a particular movement. You can put your index finger and your thumb together, and every time you do it, that could be calling forth like a reservoir of vital energy creating the Akasha, the universe around you, that would give you self-confidence or something, or inspiration for ideas, or good health. You can put your index finger and thumb together, tap them a couple of times, and every time you do that, imagine good health. It'll give you good health regardless of whether you're sick or not. So you just sit there and tap your fingers together and imagine that it's creating this thing of this pool of energy that's going to give you good health immediately. You just keep doing that over and over again. Every time you tap your thumb and finger together, you imagine it happening, and then eventually, after a period of time, it builds up. You just tap your fingers together and your index and thumb together, and the energy comes forth to you. So this is just anything you want. You can think of, but the most common thing he's saying here is, the thumb to water, middle finger to Akasha, ring finger to earth, little finger to air, forefinger to fire. That every time you would move the finger, whatever, to call forth these things. So, having arrived at this point, first the ritual's imagination. Then you'll notice you just automatically do the gesture, and then desire becomes automatic function, imagination. And then the imagination or the power will be automatically released as soon as you do the ritual. It's just like having a car battery that's charged up. And he's talking about certain lodges by which power reservoir is loaded automatically. Every time you do the ritual, they imagine something, they're loading up this reservoir in the universe that they can tap into through the ritual. He really talks quite a bit about it. Any idea, every desire of imagination can be realized by ritual, no matter which of the planes, material, astral, mental. And then it just depends upon how effective it is. It depends upon the mental maturity of the magician and how often you do the ritual and load up the air around you. That's the end of the fourth step. And there's a lot of stuff here in the fourth step. So looking at this to go from the first exercise all the way down to the end. Remember, at the beginning, you have the transmutation of the consciousness. As we start with objects, the animals, human beings. And then it was accumulated elements and the whole body. And then you're doing single parts of the body with the two methods of whole body breathing, then individual body part breathing, organ breathing. Oh, there's also, I skipped this part here. Production, element, harmony, the appropriate regions of the body. Where's that? That's here. That's right before I skipped over this part. Yeah, I should have went on. See here, this comes before the rituals. You sit in the asana position, breathe through the lungs and pores. You inhale the earth element, enter the earth region of the body. That's from the feet to the genitals. Inhale the earth element 7 times. Breathe out thoroughly. Fill the earth region with element influence in it. Keep the earth element in the earth region from the feet to the waist. And heal the water element, which is in the abdomen, 7 times. And it comes through the element, then turn to the chest, and that's the air element. Breathe in 7 times with the air element to that area from the stomach up to the chest, and then the head region, which is the fire element, which goes from the chest up to the top of the head. I skipped this thing. So this is just about coming into balance and harmony with elements. You're loading the whole body with the elements corresponding to how they go to the body. With the earth element being the feet to the waist. The water element being from the waist up to the top of the abdomen. The air element being from the top of the abdomen to above the lungs. And then the fire element being from the top of the lungs to the top of the head. And then you sit there, one begins to empty the fire element, and then sit there. I remember doing this one, and I kind of had issues with it. Kind of nerve-wracking, I don't know. You sit there, then you just release it. So that's about putting yourself into harmony with elements. I skipped that part. And then you get the rituals at the end, and that's the end of the 4th one. Right here, and then the rituals at the end, gestures, postures of your fingers. Probably a couple months doing this, I would think. Let's get into some heavy stuff.